That's the record button. Always important. Can tell you many times I've done webinars or talks, and then I'm like, man, that was a great talk, and then oh crap, I forgot to press the record button. And so, hey, welcome everybody to this week's edition of the 10X Business Owners, Small Business Owners Mastermind Group call. This call happens every single Thursday at 4 p.m. Pacific time. Streamed live on my YouTube channel, on the podcast channel, Facebook. I mean, it's all over the place on my website. And we do get together every single week. There's 4 topics. Okay? Week number 1, we talk about marketing. Usually we have an expert guest on the show. And the second week of the month, or the second Thursday of the month, is sales. The 4th has to do with fulfillment, supply, delivery, that aspect of your business. And then finally, here we are in the 4th week, and we're talking about administrative. So that topic can range from processes, systems, procedures, hiring, finance, accounting, bookkeeping, etc. And then 4 times a year, we have a 5th Thursday, and that's usually a webinar. So where we bring in some really cool speakers, and we just deliver the content. There's no selling that gets done here. This is a free call. I've been building companies now for 31 years, and I just love mentoring people. I've been mentored a lot over the years. Some of them I've paid a lot of money for. Some of them it's free. But I just sat down literally this afternoon, and I'm going to start off with this, and then I want to get into the topic. But I was praying this week, and I'm like, Lord, God's been blessing us tremendously. I said, put somebody in my path this week that we can help, just whoever that is, And all of a sudden, my wife sends me a text and goes, "Hey, look at this couple's post. They're literally sleeping out of their car, and they're willing to do something about it." And so we were able to put them up at a hotel last night, get them some food, get them connected with our church. I went and sat down and bought them lunch today, did some one-on-one, come to find out super talented. They both got great marketing skills. And literally I got, clients of mine that literally will probably hire them in the next 24, 48 hours. And so the only reason I'm sharing this with you is like, I'm sitting there and I'm going, okay, when I was 17 and I was homeless on the streets of East Oakland, drug addict, and got out of that and really rebuilt my life. I'm like, someday, Gary told me this because the guy I stole money from had been my mentor from the time I was 12, and I stole money from him for my drug habit. He bought and paid the treatment facility, helped me get cleaned up. He says, when you're in a position to help somebody, I want you to help them. That's how you can repay me. And so when I'm sitting there listening to this couple's story, I'm going, dude, this is great, man. And so I'm fired up to help them out. And so this business owners mastermind call is literally me and Alan's gift back to the world for all the success, all the stuff we've learned about business. Alan's been in business here for 24 years. I'm going to introduce him as my co-host here in a second. And we've gone through the whole gamut. We've had business partnerships. We've had a lot of successes. We've had a lot of failures. I've had companies that are, $8-9 million a year, running 45 employees. I got a whole operations team, and it's like every single aspect of business. I love the challenge of building something great. But the topic today is one of the biggest challenges that most small businesses have. And that is they get going, they get started, everything is going great. They got their marketing, they got their sales going on, and they're printing money. And then all of a sudden, and their service delivery is great. And next thing you know, it stops dead in the track. They hit a plateau where they can't grow anymore because the entire business centers around them. Because they don't have processes, they don't have systems, they don't have procedures in place. Everything centers around them, and they get stuck. And so that's what I want to talk about today is how do you get unstuck? How do you build your business with, hey, at some point, I'm going to want to travel. At some point, I'm going to want to exit. At some point, I might want to hire somebody to run it. And so we're going to talk for a little bit, just a little bit of training, and then as always, the majority of the calls will be live Q&A, and you can you can decide to talk about this if you want, ask any questions you want. You can talk about any business challenge that you have, any business opportunity you have, and me and Alan's going to do our best to give you some mentoring, and then we're going to open it up to the other business owners here. Who knows? They may have an idea that creates that breakthrough that you've been looking for, but because you've heard it from somebody else, it clicks, right? And so when I was, so I'm not going to go off on a tangent there. So Alan, unmute yourself, sir, please, and tell us about you. Shield IQ is the company you're coming here today to represent. You've been in business 24 years. Take it away, man. Tell us a little bit about yourself so everybody's familiar with who you are.
So thank you, John. Again, Alan Reeves. Some people call me Woody. That goes back a long, long way. But back in 1998, I was struggling mightily. I had the greatest bartending job of all time when I lived in Florida. It was at an upscale place right across the street from PGA Tour headquarters. I lived a block and a half off the beach, paying $330 a month in rent for a fantastic cottage. Moved up here to Nashville to get engaged and realized very, very quickly that there was going to be nothing like what I had. And except for my fiance, life was miserable. And she, her presence got me through it, but I was trying to find some direction. I sort of fell into technology, and in February of that year, I put 3 flyers in 3 local grocery stores in West Nashville. And 6 years later, we had, I had a storefront. I had 5 employees. We had serviced over 3,000 people, and I had spent less than $2,000 on marketing. It was mostly word of mouth. It was a lot of referrals. John talks about power partners all the time. Well, we made such an impression with people back then that I had literally dozens that I could call on at any given time, and didn't really have to because they were evangelizing our business. I have made phenomenal mistakes. I have had phenomenal success. And over the course of that time, I've started that company and 3 others, the latest one being ShieldIQ.com. That is an identity theft protection, credit monitoring, dark web monitoring service, a la LifeLock. But we're building a technology partner network around it, because what we realized is more than half the time where people suffer identity theft, it has to do with their technology, or it's related in some way. Maybe a password got hacked and somebody's broken into their email or their Microsoft 365 or Lord knows what. And so just having a subscription wasn't a really robust answer to that problem. And that's where Shield IQ came from. And that process started about 3 years ago. So we're getting that off the ground, and there will be more mistakes to be made, and there's going to be a lot more successes to be had. And work with John on various sundry things about 2 or 3 times a week.
Yep. So that was a question. You hear me?
You can
hear me?
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, cool. All right. Let's see here. Okay, so as we're going through this meeting, feel free to put your questions in the chat window. Everybody's muted, and we're going to get down to business here. I'm just out of curiosity, throw in the chat window, because we can go in all kinds of different directions with this topic, administrative. So we could talk about, processes, systems, procedures, employees, HR. I just gave a whole workshop to the Lodi Chamber of Commerce, because the way you hire now is way different than the way you hired before COVID. Like, it's no longer a job ad. It's literally a marketing ad for the employee, right? But you can't really go after hiring the talent the way that we've been accustomed to or trained to hire talent over the years. So what is the biggest challenge you guys have in the area of administration. Okay. Again, it can be employees, processes, systems, finance, accounting. Put in the chat window what's the biggest challenge you have right now. Okay. And Alan, while we're waiting on that, there's a question from Alex here. What's the best lesson a mistake taught you?
Oh, never, ever, ever do a 50-50 partnership. Never. Somebody, John knows all this, the blood, sweat, and tears, but somebody has to have majority share. Somebody has to be able to call the shots. And if you are deadlocked like that, you wouldn't think it, but it basically, you might as well have 0%. You might as well have 0% rather than the 50. Because you're not doing yourself any favors, you're not doing your employees any favors. If you have shareholders, you're not doing them any favors. It's just a bad mix. And maybe you think you're a good fit. Maybe this is a person who's been a friend and you consider very savvy, and you've known them for 20 years. Just don't do it. Don't do a 50-50 partnership.
Hey man, come on, time out, dude. Like I have some clients that have beautiful 50-50 partnerships, okay? Because I know the 50-50 partnership you're talking about, and if I was in Tennessee at the time, I'd have come over. Well, I'm not going to say what I would have done because that could get me in trouble. But you're right. That was an example of a bad 50-50 partnership, okay? And so I got a client of mine, Jackson Sands up in Chico. They came to me 3.5 years ago. They both just quit their jobs, civil engineering company, and they wanted to form a company. And so, I said, okay, well, let's do this. And one of the keys, and here's the thing I want everybody to be clear on. I don't care if they're a 10% partner and you got 90, whether you are a 51% partner and they got 49, and you got a corporation, you got an LLC. Here's the thing that most people do not understand. If you do not have a buy-sell agreement in place, I don't care if you got 51%. That 49% partner can call them into that company at any moment, okay? Because that's how it's set up. That's how the laws work, right? So if you're going to do a partnership of any kind, my suggestion to you would definitely be get a rock-solid buy-sell agreement in place, because that sets the tone, okay? It controls what the 51% partner can or cannot do, and vice versa. And it literally, it's the one thing that protects the company from the partner and protects the partner from the other partner and the partner from the company. And so when they came to me and I said, okay, well, if we're going to do this, what do you guys want to do? Is it going to be an equal partnership? Yep, it's going to be an equal partnership. I said, okay, well, hold on. You need to understand what you're getting involved in here. We're going to have to form a corporation, and we're going to have to do it with a buy-sell agreement. And because you're both married, there's going to be a spousal agreement clause in that agreement that your spouse is going to have to sign. And so, but if we don't do it this way, then what's going to happen is you're going from nothing to, well, where they're at now, which is they're going to be over $1 million this year, and the partnership is going to start getting tested when that money starts to flow in, or you disagree with something or whatever. Well, a good solid buy-sell agreement was going to protect them. The other thing I tell all partnerships, when you have a 50-50 partnership, you need to understand the corporation is a living, breathing entity of its own. And the best way to look at it is this: that company, that corporation is you guys' child, okay? Pick a daughter, son, whatever, right? So if you're a parent, it makes this a little bit easier, or if you've ever been a parent, it's like you always make decisions typically that are in the best interest of your child that are not necessarily in your best interest. And if you guys can always look at that company like it's a child and make decisions based on that, it's going to eliminate a lot of this fight. Okay? The other thing is being very clear What is your role in the company? You know, what part of that business do you call the shots in that you are responsible for? And that also helps you eliminate friction. Okay. But to protect yourself, because you got insurance on buy-sell agreements, if the spousal has to sign, because if that business partner dies, all of a sudden, or that person or that business partner gets divorced, all of a sudden that wife now becomes an additional partner. Yeah. And if you don't have that written into a good solid buy-sell agreement, you know, you may be stuck with the partner you don't want, you know? And so I agree with you. It's like, I try to talk people out of 50-50 partnerships all the time. But if they're just like, hey, we've been thinking about this for a long time and we love each other, and, you know, we sing Kumbaya, we do s'mores on the weekend. And with this is, you know, I just merged two partnerships, two companies that combined total, they're doing $6.5 million a year. And they came to me and they were like, hey, we want to come together. Okay. And we want to be a 50-50 partner. Now, the one was 4 million. The other one was the rest. I'm like, you guys want to do an equal partnership? Yeah. Same thing. Corporation, buy-sell agreement. That wife has to sign off on it. And if you don't do it, it's your own fault. Because I guarantee you, the type of business, and we're scaling them to 10.5 million this year. You know, at some point, you guys are going to have a disagreement. At some point, you know, one of you might get, you know, addicted to drugs, you know, become an alcoholic. Heck, I don't know, you know, get divorced. You know, there's so many different problems that happen that a good buy-sell agreement will protect you from. So, highly, 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 highly recommended, especially if you're listening to this recording, because a lot of you, thousands of you are going to listen to this recording. You find yourself in that mess. You can either get an attorney to do that, or you find a business strategist like myself. If you need a recommendation, send me an email, or, you know, go to johnpyrant.com, book an appointment. I'd be more than happy to help you, because I know a lot of good people that create good, solid buy-sell agreements.
One real quick thing, John, and I'm sorry, I've just got to throw this in there on top of what you just said. I don't know if anyone on the call has ever read a book called Slicing Pie, but if you haven't, do yourself a favor. Again, it's called Slicing Pie. And basically the concept is, if you're going to start a business and it's going to be a partnership, or you'll have multiple shareholders or multiple owners, pardon me, what you should do is set the agreement so that the equity, the ownership in the company, is dependent on the actual amount of value and revenue that the individual owners bring to the company. And that can be done in a way where it's legally binding. So if you do find yourself in a situation where someone who's never had anything to do with it is suddenly an owner, whether it's by divorce or what have you, by death, you're protected. And the folks that aren't pulling their weight are either motivated to pull their weight, or they're going to watch their shares dwindle. It's a fascinating concept, and it works really well. Thank you, John. I didn't mean to cut in.
Yeah. No, I think we covered our topic for today. This is a really, really important topic. I love partnerships. I think it's the easiest and fastest way to scale and grow. I'm a control freak, so I don't do 50-50 partnerships ever. I've been on the flip side, where the first company I came in, worked as a salesperson there. They were at $500,000 a year in revenue. I got them up to $1 million in less than a year, and because my background was sales. And they offered me a 10% partnership. Sure, let's do it, man. So that 10%, all of a sudden I went from sales manager to I'm a business owner now, man. Yeah, I mean, it sounded so much better. Okay. And I remember busting my ass, man, for 3.5 years, got them to $6.5 million, got a sales team, Marketing was solid. I mean, I thought I was walking on water. Like I had this security, you know? And I'll never forget, man. I get pissed just even telling this story. It's like, he calls me up. I take a vacation at the end of 2001 or 2002, and I come back and he goes, "Hey, your compensation plan is screwed up." And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And he goes, "Well, the company lost money in the fourth quarter, and you made a boatload." I'm like, "What do you mean? I make 2%, dude, of the company. I don't take a salary, nothing. And if I made a boatload, you really made a boatload." And he says, "Well, you didn't hit your quota." I'm like, I knocked the crap out of the park. Dude, I made the guy $170,000 more in gross profit than I was required to do. But because I didn't deliver on the top line revenue, it was his loophole to get out of my partner agreement. Oh my God, dude. I found out right then and there, if you don't own the majority of the company, you're just an employee. Okay? And that game rule can change at any time. That dude modified my comp plan. I ran the same numbers in that fourth quarter. I would have made 29% less under that new comp plan. I was pissed. And long story short, I said I rebuilt the sales team up because I said my income ain't going to suffer. Okay, so I went to the salespeople. We created a bunch of income, and I started playing golf 3 or 4 times a week. And ultimately he fired me because I wouldn't conform. So I left there, packed my bag, got my bat and ball, went to someplace else, and I still was not ready to pull the trigger to be the majority owner. Went and worked for his competitor. They were about 1.2 million at the time. I wanted a partnership. We created a plan. So, hey, I got to accomplish certain goals in 6 months, and I could buy into that company. I still hadn't learned my lesson yet, and built that company. I was so mad at Dawn, and I go. So I took that company to $8.5 million in 3 years. I was just mad, and it drove me. And again, they changed the freaking comp plan on me. And I'm like, finally called Mike Sasser. It's like, how fast can you form me a corporation? And built that company from 0 to $1 million in 3 years. The economy was collapsing at the time. It was 2007 and 8, 9. And then ended up in the center of now I'm going somewhere with this. Ended up in the center of the Sacramento Business Journal, went down, I got both copies, matted it, framed it, put a little post-it note. Don couldn't have done it without you, buddy. Jeanette couldn't have done it without you. FedExed it to both of them. Now here's the point of the story. In order to really just explode your business and do all the work that's necessary, you got to find something that's going to drive you internally. Okay? For me, it was success is going to be my best revenge. Sometimes it's like, hey, the new client I took on today, I said, I want you to write your goals, your dreams. I want you to ask yourself, what do I want? And I want you to write your dreams and goals every single day, once in the morning, once at night before you go to bed. Think in terms of, what do I want? Whatever comes to your mind, write it down as if it already happened. And then rewrite what your targets are for this year. Again, what comes to mind, write it down, even though you already have it planned out. But if you do this, you're going to write your goals 700 times a year. You're going to write your targets 700 times a year. You're going to get so fired up on what pulls you into the future, not, oh, I got to do this because I got to eat, right? And so that's another process in the system. But you got to find what motivates you. But understand, you are the business, okay? No matter what you build, right? You build the business. You yourself incorporated in one of the secrets to building a great team, a company that you can build that runs without you, is you treat each employee as if they are a business inside your business. Like I told Tim earlier, he's got 17 employees. I'm like, I'm going to show you how to get 90% utilization out of these people, not just the 70%. Okay? The 40 hours a week, they're only 70% productive typically. How you get 90 is you treat them like they're a business owner, man. You invest in them. You you make them better when they leave. They're like, man, I don't want to leave, you know. And you get more out of that employee. You don't have to hire as many employees. You get a lot more productivity out of your team. But I created this process that I had to create for Lodi Chamber. I'll send it to everybody, but it's sick. I implemented it with my client that's 27 employees. They're looking to hire 5 employees right now. They implemented this, and now they've got a lot of candidates going, hey, is that really real? Will you guys treat us that way if we come to work for you? We created a marketing campaign for employees, not a job ad, you know? And now they got employees because every type of person they're looking for is already employed somewhere, you know? And so we got to find a way that will incentivize that person to come to us. And that's what we did. So I'll share that with everybody. All right. Anybody got any questions? Anybody want to mastermind a problem, a challenge that they have? Just raise your hand and we'll bring you on. I'm going to pick on somebody. Dan.
What? Am I unmuted?
What's up, man?
What's
You're
going on?
unmuted. Hey,
Alan,
introduce
haven't seen you in a
yourself to
while.
everybody. Tell us what you do, real quick.
I do media production. I do websites. I have a program called Biz Sites, which is low entry cost to get started, and we have maintenance to keep the site safe and up, and it's very affordable. The whole concept of this business is to make it easy for a small business to get a website. Whenever they start, a web developer starts talking to a small business and they start throwing out $5, $6, $7, $8, $9, $10, $12,000. I did have a client tell me one time that before they signed up with me, somebody did, and it's a plumber. This is a plumber. Designers quoted them $12,000 for a website. That's insanity. So I'm trying to take that off the table and, you know, take that cash flow out of their brain when they're trying to make that decision and give them high quality, good service.
Awesome. What's the biggest challenge or opportunity you got right now that we might be able to help you out with today?
Well, I really wanted to talk about processes because I didn't know that's what we were going to be talking about today. But it's not really a problem. It's more of a solution, if you will, for people that are looking for that sort of thing. If you are going to grow your business, if you want to scale, so if it's just, for example, just me right now, and then I want to have somebody else come in and do what I do, I need them to do it exactly the way I do it. If not, when I go back, and I'm talking about web design, I'm talking about programming, there's structure, there's a path you should follow. Because if you don't follow that path, and I have to turn around 6 months, a year later and come update that site, I have no idea. You go in there and you just have no clue. What the hell were you thinking when you did this? You know, and it takes more time. Back in the 90s, I worked for a company called TCT Technical Training, and we created training modules. And their project management method was driven by sales, basically. When do we need the next product? We can sell this product for 7 more months, and then we need a new product. And that's how our timelines were built. So I had to undo all of that. And part of that, what I did was standardize. Take every phase of a project and document it. And my little clue on this is, if you want to do that for your business, there's a skill set out there. There's people out there that are basically going to school to become trainers, and the program's called instructional design. Chico State, which is where I came from, they called it instructional technology because they added more media stuff into it. But the bottom line is, these people in their learning and getting their degree are learning how to teach. They're learning how to train, not children. They're learning how to train adults. They're learning how to, you know, these people go off and they become trainers in all these big corporations. Get one of those guys that are going to school right now, bring them in and have them teach them what they know, what you're doing, and they can break it down. The whole point of instructional design, I always just say, is getting to the essence of the essence, right? There's a lot of bull crap that'll go around in something, but if you finally drill it down get it down to the essence of the essence, and document it down and step by step by step. And if you bring somebody in that's a, they're a grad student, or they're in their bachelor's program for instructional design, these are great candidates and cheap, right? They're students. So that was my little hint I wanted to throw out there and support my fellow instructional designers.
So the actual major that they're going for is instructional design. Is that correct?
It is a thing. Yep. Yeah, Chico State has a program. San Jose State has a program.
Okay, so for those of you that don't know, there is an actual federal program that exists all over the country, and that is you can go to any college, any major university, and you can go and say, hey, I'm looking to hire this position, and it's going to be a paid internship, a paid employment position, and the college will pay for half of that employee's expenses for the first 6 months they come to work for you. Okay, it's a federal program. It's been around for years, and so like Jackson Sands, Dan, Jackson Sands.
Yeah.
Half those employees we hired from Chico State, and for the first 6 months, half of all their expense was paid for by the college. And there's certain areas in California, there's certain areas around the country where if I'm hiring somebody that's unemployed and now employing them, then it extends to 9 months, and in some cases they'll pay the whole boat. So it's never been easier to get people that are talented. But I love this instructional design, because that person, that's exactly the missing component. You need somebody that can think in terms of, okay, if I get hit by a bus, can somebody come in tomorrow and know exactly what I've been doing? There's two really, really good books out there. One is called The E-Myth Revisited, Michael Gerber. And then one of my favorite books that's a lot more practical and more detailed is called Clockwork. It's by Mike Michalowicz. And he talks about not just written processes and procedures, but leveraging like Zoom and video to keep those processes and systems up to date, because we live in such a visual culture now. And so really nailing down the different operations and processes is how you get your freedom. It's how you get your freedom in your business. So great tip, great idea. Anybody have any questions, comments, or anything about what Dan just talked about? Feel free to raise your hand. Go ahead.
So I remember I had a vacation lined up in July of 2004. I had opened my storefront about 6 weeks before. And at the time we had Nextel radio phones. And all I remember about that vacation, all I remember about that vacation is my new staff constantly hitting me on the radio. Hey, I hate to ask you this, but how do we do this? How do we handle this? This person called in, how quickly should we service that? Are they a priority? It was unorganized chaos. And Dan, you're preaching it, man. That's good stuff.
Yeah. Okay, who's next? Who else has got a challenge or opportunity? Jack, I don't know. You're more than welcome. If you want, we can talk about this question. You direct message me if you want. Just let me know. Good. Okay. Let's unmute you here. This is very important. This is actually a process, I guess. This is a procedure.
Yeah.
So go ahead and share with us your question.
Because I know you had obviously experience with MSPs too. So as an MSP, when reaching out to a company for who do you want to use as a point of contact with bigger companies? Because I understand small companies, you just go to the owner. When you start getting to large companies where they have a C-suite between the CEO, CFO, a president, et cetera, who do you think is the best person to make your first contact with or continue the conversation with?
So depending on the size of the company, like one of my companies, I only focused on large enterprise. So companies that are 1,000 users or more. And so, because I was selling Citrix back then, we were a Citrix Platinum partner, and I sold all of the Citrix to Kaiser. I sold all of the Citrix to the state of California, Chevron, American Express, very, very large companies. And those you're typically dealing with a board of directors. You're typically dealing with a consulting company like Deloitte and Touche. And so I'm going to want to find somebody that can give me an introduction, and I'm always going to aim for the highest position possible, wherever that is. Like if I can get to the president and the CEO, that's where I'm going. Because once I go to that, they may say, hey, I don't handle that. I have a CFO. You need to talk to him. Great. I want to be referred down from that CEO to that CFO. So when that CFO tries to block things and I don't get somewhere with that CFO, I can go back up to the CEO and go, hey, I did exactly what you told me. I talked to Fred. We just haven't been able to connect. Is there any other way that I can approach him, or can you let him know I'm a safe person to talk to, right? And so when you start at the very top, that's not always possible. You start to work your way down, but let's just say you get in even at the receptionist level, right? Because they have a gatekeeper or whatever. Whoever I get in with, whoever I can get my foot in the door is, it's very simple. What's in it for me? That's all I see on their head. What's in it for me? How can I make that person feel special? How can I fulfill whatever need that person has? What can I do for them? How can I make them my friend? I don't care if it's the janitor. Okay. I need a foot in that door. And if I make the person feel special, like the best book on the planet is How to Win Friends and Influence People, Dale Carnegie, right? So I want to make that person feel super special, and I'm going to climb my way through that business. The easiest way is to just get, find somebody that already has them as a client and see what you can do to get referred in.
Well,
that's how I approach it. Alan, you're in the technology space.
Oh, yeah.
What would you say in this?
Yeah, and in the enterprise area, you're right. I mean, there's so many people there that you want to go straight to the top. But if you're shooting in the traditional MSP space, which is going to be typically 150 employees or less, then what I've found over the years is sometimes you're going to run into a prospect and maybe they started with 1 or 2 people, and now 10 years later, they got 35 employees. There's usually, if they've never had a full-time IT person, they've never had a managed service provider, there's usually one person on staff, whether at the C level or wherever, that has always sort of done the IT. They've been the go-to person, and they get called upon anytime there's a fire, anytime anything needs to be installed, anytime anything needs to be adjusted. And not only do I target the top, but I find out who this person is. And basically the messaging I go in with is, you know what? I'm here to change your life. I am here to turn down all the noise in your day that's preventing you from doing the job that you're actually being paid to do. And here's how we're going to do that. And here's what we do for others. And here's how we're accountable. And I show them, firewall reports that shows what the firewall is blocking on a monthly basis. I'll show them daily backup reports that shows that, at 8 o'clock in the morning, there's a test restore done every single day. And this is how we know that if there's a disaster in the business, we can spin you up really quickly. This is how we know that you're not dead in the water. And all that headache, all that madness, all that chaos that you're having to deal with that is not in your job description goes away. So we're here to help, and we need you. We need you, you feed that ego a little bit. We need you to make that transition seamless as possible. And we can introduce tools that you've never even imagined. So we can be your friend if you can help us be the CEO's friend.
Yeah, I mean, when you're talking about a large enterprise where, let's just say a Fortune 500 company, Fortune 1000 company, they're typically, if you're going in at an MSP level, you're most likely going in you're being invited in for a specific project, And so whether it's be, whatever. Now this Now, bear with me, those of you that are on this call that are not in the MSP IT space, because this applies to you and this is sales. This is just sales straight up 101, right? Is I got to find an insertion point into that company. And it could be through a vendor, it could be through a prospect, it could be a service that they provide. With LinkedIn, what I would do is I would go, okay, I'm going after XYZ company. I'm going to go to LinkedIn and I'm going to type in that company and I'm going to get a list of all their employees, okay? All their employees that have, they have themselves as an employee with that company. I'm going to start seeing how many of those people I have common connections with, and I'm just going to start nurturing that. I'm going to send them a direct message and go, hey, hi, Joe, my name is Jack. You and I don't know one another, but I noticed that you're connected with Mary. Mary's a connection of mine. I noticed we have 15 other connections in common. I'd love to add you to my network. That script right there, I have tested it in all kinds of businesses, and literally about 83% of the time, they're going to accept the connection request. Now I want to go and I want to look at their LinkedIn profile because they have, what their background is, what their experience is, what kind of awards that they have. I'm looking for something in common that I can literally just start a conversation with. Where people really mess up on LinkedIn is they start pitching me their crap before I even know who they are, Like I just walked into the bar, I just ordered my drink, I said hi to you, and now you want to marry me, really? I don't even know your ass. And so, I go, hey, you know what? I noticed that you went to this college. Man, I happen to go to the same college. Dude, who was your teacher, man? I'm looking to develop a friendship, right? Some sort of dialogue. If I can get into a successful dialogue back and forth at least 3 or 4 times, then my next thing is, hey, why don't we do this? Let's hop on a 5 to 10 minute phone call. I'd love to chat with you, get a chance to know you better, see if there's anybody. Now this is a script. I want you to write the script down. This script converts at 89%. This is like the baddest script. Like Aaron Otfeld paid me $500 to write this script. Okay. And so you call him up and you go, hey, Joe, you and I have been chatting on LinkedIn, or you type, hey, we've been chatting on LinkedIn for, the last month. And why don't we hop on a 10-minute phone call? I'd love to get a chance to know you and your business better. Now, here's the key, and see if there's anybody in my network that can benefit from your products and services and vice versa. How do you feel about a 10-minute phone call? Here's a link to my online appointment calendar. Click it. If you're in sales and you don't have an online appointment calendar, get that fixed right away. Because you take the friction point of setting an appointment with you away. There's no phone tag. There's no trying to coordinate calendars or anything like that. Okay, that's number one. Number two, make sure your LinkedIn profile. If you're going after enterprise customers, you make sure your LinkedIn profile is rock solid. Like when they land there, you're like an expert. Like there's a ton of value there. Now, if you need help with that, it's very simple. I hired a LinkedIn expert to do a webinar with me 2 years in a row. So if you go up to my YouTube channel, search on the most popular video, okay? Now Buffalo versus Cal is like number 1 now, believe it or not, Alan. But the 2 LinkedIn webinars we did are the top viewed videos. And I hired her to walk people through step by step. How do I turn my LinkedIn profile into a lead generating machine? Okay. And then we did a follow-up webinar the following year to update it. But when they go to search you, when they go to connect with you, they land on you. You're going after professionals. As long as your profile is professional, your signature is professional, you're adding a lot of value and content there. And I go into all those strategies on that webinar there. I would do that and then start there because that's a free Rolodex, and all of a sudden you become an expert in the area of IT. Now, your company's been around for a while. So if I were you, I'd be like, okay, if John Pyron, actually Raul brings in speakers, right? So let's just say Raul said, hey, I want you to come and be a tag speaker. I'm going to put you on stage in front of 500 people that are prospective customers for you. So now you're on this stage. I want you to share with this audience the top 10 tips that you would share with them that they can implement without ever talking to you, that they would have success within their own organization. Now, understand what I'm saying here. That's 10 posts that you're going to put up there. Could be 3 minutes in length, probably no more than 4.5 minutes in length. You're sharing a golden nugget, and this becomes your magnet. So when they hit your LinkedIn profile, you can send, they see something like that. They're like, this dude knows his stuff. My IT guy doesn't even know that. And they're going to want to connect with you, right? So, and you could do this in pretty much any industry. Yeah, Alex, you can do it in your industry because you're in insurance. Financial planners, you got to be careful because there's certain things you can and cannot talk about. Anyways, that's my 2 cents on that. I know I went with long minute, but if you want to talk jack off line, man, like I sold a lot of enterprise, you know, and we talked. I'll come in and train your sales team there. Just tell the owner to call me. Okay. Any who else has got a question, problem, challenge, comment that you'd like to talk about? Raise your hand. Nope. Okay. Been a great week. Again, write out your goals twice a day. Dreams and goals. What do I want? Targets. Okay. Hit Alan's website. Hit Dan's website. Hit my site. There's enough information on my YouTube channel, my website. You can build an entire company from scratch and never even talk to me. Okay. So go out and make it happen. I wish you nothing but the very best and success. Next week is the first Thursday of the month. We get to talk about my favorite topic, which is marketing. And I'll tell you, man, some of the marketing stuff we've done over this last month, I literally increased my business almost 3x, almost tripled the business in 1 month because I implemented some things that Cardone gave me in my own marketing that just blew the shit up. And I'm going to share it all next Wednesday or next Thursday at 4 p.m. Pacific. Share this out with the people that you care about. Comment on this YouTube video. You know, connect with the people that are here. You know, there's a lot of people like you, Maggie, you and Alex are power partners. You both are in the tip. You know, Maggie's a client of mine. You guys should connect. Raul's, you and I need to connect because I know a crap ton of speakers and I'd love to be a speaker on your stage. Dan and Alan, you guys are already power partners. Jack and Alan, Jack's on the same time zone you're in, Alan. And he can be a great, really good secret web. He's in the tip. So I'd get a hold of him, man. You got access to his contact information. So go out and mastermind together, make it happen, and have a great week. Take care, guys.